Hello and welcome to ThePrint. Today we are standing at the Padmaja Naidu Zoological Park in Darjeeling, which has made history in India for its red panda conservation breeding program. This program, which started with 9 founder individuals in 1996, has gone on to be shortlisted as the top 3 programs for a conservation award by the World Association of Zoos and Aquariums. This is the first time that an Indian program and an Indian zoo has been shortlisted for such a prestigious award. The Darjeeling Zoo has India's only red panda conservation breeding and rewilding program, under which the endangered species are bred in a safe enclosure in Topkedara, miles away from the zoo, and then trained to be released into the wild. According to the WWF, there are only 10,000 red pandas left in the wild in the whole world, putting the species on IUCN's endangered list. From 2022 to 2024, the Darjeeling Zoo has successfully released 9 pandas into the wild, 3 of which have mated with wild red pandas.
Reintroduction means something like the species has completely gone extinct in that region, and the species is being reintroduced again. But that's not the case with red pandas. It's a augmentation, rewilding and augmentation program where there are red pandas in the natural habitat, but their numbers are dwindling and their population is threatened because of various reasons. So this is an attempt to stabilize the population and also induce new genetic diversity in the population so that they will thrive in the long term.
The program, therefore, in the Padmaja Naidu Zoo is aimed towards introducing more genetically diverse pandas into the wild. Now, the way that this process goes is that out of, say, the 10 or so pandas that are existing in the conservation breeding center at a particular point of time, the ones that are chosen first go through a genetic analysis. So, the more heterozygous they are, the better it is for their release. Then they are trained, they are put in an enrichment enclosure which trains them on basic instincts like how to get food, how to be aware of predators. Sometimes the zookeepers also engage in and they engage in building anti-human tendencies in these pandas so that they know how to be aware of humans in the wild. When all of this process is done, which is after months of training, then the pandas are finally released into the wild. First, they are released into a soft boma enclosure, and then they are released into the wild because all of this is done to basically ensure the highest ever chances of survival of these captive bred pandas in the wild. However, the Darjeeling Zoo has not stopped here. It has now gone on to be the first and the only zoo in India to have a genetic biobank facility for endangered species. This means that the gametes, the DNA, the genetic material of endangered Himalayan species like the red pandas and the snow leopards are being conserved in a facility inside the zoo itself. The Darjeeling Zoo is scripting history for its seminal work in the conservation of rare Himalayan species, not just red pandas, but also snow leopards, Himalayan gorals, tars, and the rare Himalayan newt.
So biobank and genetic resource facility we have started this year. It will be a facility where we can preserve the genetic material, the DNA, tissues, cell lines, and gametes of endangered species in a cryobank in liquid nitrogen, so which can be used in the future for various research activities, for conservation activities. We don't know, we can't foreseeing what will be the situation some decades ahead. So these facility can act as a reservoir of genetic resources, which can be of immense use. So this was facility was supported by Central Zoo Authority under consortium of biobanks, and we are getting the technical support from Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, Hyderabad.
The genetic biobank facility in the Darjeeling Zoo is only a few months old, but it has already stored the tissues and genetic material of over 9 species, and it's planning to do so for many more. It was set up with the help of the Central Zoo Authority and the Hyderabad based CCMB, the Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology. And it is the Darjeeling Zoo's own little moment of pride because it's pioneering in terms of advancing conservation efforts in Indian zoos. It is fully equipped with portable freezers and stirrers and whatever equipment is necessary for extracting, processing, and storing animal tissues.
Storage is done in two different ways. For genetics, we are keeping the sample at -20. And for biobanking purpose, we are storing the samples at minus 196 degrees centigrade, and that can be stored lifelong as long as there is supply of liquid nitrogen. Supply of liquid nitrogen means the tissues need to be submerged in the liquid nitrogen. So for that we need to supplement liquid nitrogen on a regular basis. That is a criteria for that. And tissues can't be directly brought to minus 196. The tissues will be dead if we do that. There will be cold shock, just like thermal shock. There will be cold shock also.
In the words of the director of the Padmaja Naidu Zoological Park, the role of zoos is not to just store and display animals, it's to actively contribute to conservation efforts of wildlife. Through things like a genetic biobank facility, and it's to contribute to education and research facility when it comes to wildlife. Because of space constraints in the hill town of Darjeeling, the zoo itself cannot expand horizontally, as in, it cannot add too many species, it cannot have too many enclosures. But in the words of the director of the zoological park, they have plans to expand it vertically in terms of adding more advanced technologies to conserve and preserve the animal species that are already existing in the zoo.
Currently, the Darjeeling Zoo is well positioned to cater to a number of unique and endangered Himalayan species like the snow leopards, of which only 6,000 are left in the world. The zoo carries out conservation breeding for snow leopards too, the only place in India and in fact all of South Asia to be doing this. However, the genetic biobank has added two new dimensions in the conservation of these species by the Darjeeling Zoo.
Genetics is like, just like we are collecting the samples from there, we are doing the genetic profiling of the animal. We have the genetic profile that can be used for further diagnosis, further identification of the animals and all those things. So this is the genetic part. And biobanking is a very advanced sector, you can say. We have been helped a lot by CCMB in this regard, and CCMB is pioneering in this. So here, if you can understand, it is more of a frozen zoo, as I said already. So the frozen zoo here, zoo means you can't see the animals, but we have the resources of the animals from where we can bring the animal back from extinction.
Okay.
Like in case of northern African rhinos and all, we collect the tissues from there, we put them in the biobanking facility, and if say this animal is going to be extinct or about to be extinct, we can bring back the animal. Like we have the testes, we have the gonads, from where we can do the processing to bring out those ova and sperm, fertilize them into a zygote, and then use the surrogate mother to deliver the offspring.
The red panda community, the red panda conservation community around the world has one goal, which is conservation, because these species are endangered according to the IUCN, and they have rapidly dwindling habitats. So, in the places like Darjeeling, Sikkim, Nepal, and China, these are some of the hotspots of red pandas. They have seen increasing habitat destruction, which is why organizations, zoos, and even governments are geared towards building and providing an ecosystem for these red pandas to thrive in. And amongst all of these global efforts, there is this one 67-acre zoo in Darjeeling that is the front runner in the battle to conserve red pandas in the world, and it has been recognized so on a global platform. This is Akanksha Mishra reporting for The Print.